What's up, guys? Jeff Cavalier, ATHLEAN-X.com. Have you noticed that your gains have stopped? Maybe even suddenly? This video is going to help you to identify what's happening and, more importantly, to turn it around. So to get this topic started here, I figure let's talk to somebody whose gains have stopped. Jesse, why don't you come on in? Let's talk to everybody about...
What the hell is that? Gains have stopped. Look at these gains. Come on now.
Gains in your head.
Oh, jeez. By the way, I got my new intro ready. Run it.
In a world within our world.
Whoa, we're not going through a movie trailer. You weren't supposed to be creating a movie trailer here.
It's 3.5 minutes long.
It's too long.
You want the abridged version, not the light story.
I don't want any version.
Okay, here's the abridged version. Run it.
That is ridiculous.
Over the top? Too much?
I paid you for that time to write that and work on that, you know.
Okay, I'm open to criticism. Is it too absurd? Too many explosions? Not enough sharks? What is it?
It's just ridiculous.
So should I work on more sophistication?
How about you work?
Okay.
Just work. You know what? Let's improve this bit. Instantly improve. We just improved that at least, right? Guys, let's talk about these gains. What's happening here? Let's break them down one by one. All right, so remember when you first started working out, it was actually like fun because you were gaining strength and you could actually see the gains almost from session to session. Every time you go to bench press, you were like adding full plates, big plates to the bar. Well, what happened? It just doesn't continue to do that. Does it mean that your gains have stopped completely? No, it's that strength gains are harder to come by as you get more experience, but it doesn't mean you should stop chasing them. In other words, in good form, as always, you still want to continue to try to progressively overload. And as you get more experience, it has to come in the form of smaller and smaller plates. Don't discredit the value of a 2.5-pound plate. It can provide that necessary impetus to get over the hump and to get those gains kickstarted again. Don't just get comfortable with where you're at. Find a way to add a small plate to the end of that bar to kickstart those gains once again. Our reason number 2 actually also has to do with strength, and it is that strength became your only focus. Guys, I talked about all the time here on this channel, if you want to look like an athlete, you have to train like an athlete. Unless you're only a strength athlete, then you have to have other weapons in your arsenal. You have to train for hypertrophy. You have to train for conditioning. You have to train for these other elements, but you have to make sure that you're making decisions that actually go together. See, we know that there's a good relationship between strength training and hypertrophy training because as you add more muscle through hypertrophy training, you're going to increase your strength. As you add more strength, you're going to add more muscle. They're related. Bouncing around the gym and doing things like this aren't necessarily a related plan. It's lacking a plan. It's just having training ADD. We want to make sure that at all times you're having a plan. And there's no such thing as what people say interference if they're all on the same page in terms of creating a more multidimensional version of you, creating a more athletic version of you that can do multiple things instead of excelling in just one. The next one here is interesting because it happens to a lot of us because the things we did in the past worked, but that doesn't mean it's always going to continue to work. And I'm talking about nutrition. Maybe you're even eating perfectly clean. You're eating great, but are you eating enough? Particularly if you're adding new lean muscle. The more muscle tissue you add, the more you're going to have to support that, not only just to continue to maintain what you have, but to continue to add more. So there always has to be some sort of an adjustment period made to your nutrition if you want to continue to make those gains. Let me lay out a scenario for you. Let's say when you first started to work out, you're eating, let's just say 3 meals a day, and they're of a certain size. And you were told that you needed to eat more, so you started to add more food to each of those meals so they got larger, and you started to gain muscle. But then you realized that you really couldn't even support any more food at each meal. You just felt too full. So one of the only ways that you could actually increase the food intake over the course of a day was to maybe add a couple meals or snacks to the equation, and now you started to make more gains again. And at that point, you started to maybe plateau, so you slowly started to add to the size of those meals too. And ultimately, all the meals started to get bigger, and you were able to support new muscle gains. The point is, guys, you need to continue to make adjustments. The Rock and Jeff Cavalier don't have the same nutritional requirements in a given day. What's needed to sustain his physique is going to be different than what's needed to sustain my physique. The point is you have to ask yourself, are you eating enough today to sustain what it is that you require to continue to make gains? When gains come to a halt, one of the areas I ask you to look at closely right off the bat is how well you're sleeping. Because we know that gains are made away from the gym, when our muscles are recovering, particularly during sleep. And if you're not sleeping well, or your sleep is cut back significantly from times in the past, it's going to have an impact on you, and it usually happens really fast. So evaluate your sleep. We know that the amount of good quality sleep is really correlated directly with the amount of gains that you can make in the gym, simply because we're allowing the muscles that we beat down and created the stimulus for growth to actually benefit from that stimulus and growth by allowing the body to recover. Check your sleep patterns, guys. Make sure it's both good and long enough to allow you to make the gains that you should be making. Speaking of checking, you also want to make sure that you check your expectations. How much muscle do you think you should be building right now? Are you gaining a couple pounds, but you think that that's not enough? It could be perhaps because you're watching the wrong people on YouTube. Maybe you think that you're due another 20 pounds of muscle in year 2, another 25 pounds of muscle in year 3. That's wrong expectations set by bad information. You see, when you make your early gains, guys, you're going to experience them more rapidly because your body is not accustomed to the stimulus of training. And as you train and gain more experience, those gains are going to slow down, but that's normal. If your expectations are in line with that and you realize that, hey, a 2-pound or a 3-pound muscle gain this year would be really good, then your expectations or your disappointments because it's not 15 don't really exist because they're really not founded in anything real. Make sure you know where you're at in terms of your personal training history and your journey, and that will have a lot to do with the expectations that you should set for yourself, and more importantly, the disappointments you're going to blame yourself for if they're not as rapid as you think they should be. This one here is one of my favorites because it requires that we get honest with ourselves and actually ask ourselves, do we really know what intense training is? Do we know what applying a high effort level is to our training? And we may not, because you might have heard from other people that the best way to gain is to simply just accumulate a lot of volume at a lower effort level. Not low, but lower. And I'm here to tell you that the best way to gain muscle is to increase your effort level every single time, to push as if it's the only set you're going to do and force your body into new growth. Why? Because accumulating junk volume has a lot of downsides, especially when it comes to the athletic population. Guys that actually need to be able to get out on the field and exert volume in other ways, to be athletic, to play their sport. They're not looking to accumulate a lot of time in the gym added onto that. There's only so much we can recover from. So what I'm suggesting is you trade in the workout length, the unnecessary volume, for more effort in the volume that you perform. That is where the gains will lie. And if you're stuck in that realm here where you're looking a little bit more like this, too casual, too easy, you finish your set and you can go have a coffee and maybe smoke a cigarette. Actually, too bad idea. Well, coffee's okay. Bad idea with the cigarettes. You want to look more like this. You want to look like you're actually trying. You want to feel like you're trying. You want to give your muscles a reason to grow. You want to force a stimulus upon them they haven't necessarily felt before, so that they have a reason to come back and get stronger and bigger and more resilient to the stresses you just applied to them. There's no way around that, guys. And I'm telling you, as a natural athlete who has limited recovery, this is going to be the better way to do this. Forget all that extra volume, forget all the extra junk volume, and focus more on what's going to get the job done today to get you further ahead than where you are right now. And our last reason here is perhaps you've actually overlooked the value of mind-muscle connected training. Meaning, have you actually focused on what you're doing in the exercises that you're performing? Have you tried to focus on the quality of every contraction? Because when you do, the effort level we just talked about will actually skyrocket, will go through the roof. When you're focused on really trying to contract the muscle you're trying to contract, you'll be shocked at how much less you can probably lift and how many fewer reps you could probably perform, and that's not a bad thing. It's actually good because, once again, the stimulus is all that matters. The tension is all that matters. Accumulating more tension because you're increasing the effort, in this case, through more focused effort on the muscle you're trying to build to actually contract, it's all a good thing, guys. It's going to help you to get through that hurdle and that hump that's holding you back right now. Your gains are sitting there, right on the other side of that hump, but you got to be willing to push through it and over it, and focusing more on every single repetition of what you're doing is going to allow you to make gains that you maybe thought were in the past. So there you have it, guys. 7 reasons that your muscle gains may have stopped.
Wait.
Are you backing? You're insufferable.
Dude, they ran out of supplements. That's the bonus reason.
Where did you get those from? By the way, put those back.
I ordered these. Remember?
Get out of here.
Okay.
Now, he's got a point, though. But only if your nutrition is on point and your training is on point, yes, supplements will add to that. And if you're looking for supplements, guys, we have the best in the business, ATHLEAN-RX. So that being said, guys, the reasons for why your gains have stopped might require you to look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, yeah, I think this is maybe what's going on. Now, I don't think that you can make muscle gains on end forever, but I do think that when they stop completely, there's always a reason for it, and I think we uncovered one of the reasons here, or maybe multiple reasons that you can address. In the meantime, if you're looking for programs that map it all out for you in a step-by-step progressive way to minimize those stalls, you can head to ATHLEAN-X.com right now. In the meantime, if you found the video helpful, leave your comments and thumbs up below. Let me know what I'm going to cover. I'll do my best to do that for you, and if you haven't already done so, click subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video when we put one out. All right, guys, see you soon.